everybody, it's Angie from Trips with Angie, and today we're going to talk about when is the best time to cruise, both by cost, weather, and because it's the only time it's available. I'm a travel agent who loves to share my travels with you all around the world. I especially like cruises, all-inclusive resorts, and escorted tours. So if that sounds like your jam, I invite you to subscribe and keep that notification bell on. So to cruises. So the general rule when it comes to cost is prices go down when less people are available or want to travel. And one key way to keep track of this is to pay attention to when school is in session. Family travel tends to go way down when schools are in session. So in the United States, that means the high times to travel will be when school is out. So think about your rolling spring breaks in March and April. So colleges start to have their spring breaks in March. Families attending high school, middle school, elementary school tend to have their spring breaks from the end of March rolling into April. A lot of it depends when Easter is each year because many school districts peg their spring break time to the Easter holiday. Then over the summer, June, July, and August tend to be very busy for family travel as many schools do take that 3 months off. You have the time over Thanksgiving, which is the last Thursday in November. Fall break is also becoming more popular at schools. The second or third weeks in October can tend to fill up. And then you also have the Christmas holiday. So over Christmas holiday and New Year's holiday, that is the most expensive and busiest time to travel. Now, if you want to stay away from those costly weeks, think about what we like to call the shoulder season. So that's the edges of the more popular season. So in the case of summer, that's going to be traveling in May or September. And in thinking about seasons like Alaska, so Alaska has historically run from May to September, but now cruise ships are arriving as early as April and is staying as late as October. So you can start to see deals in April and May, September, and October. So you want to look at those shoulder seasons, and that's good pretty much everywhere. So when you think about Europe, your shoulder season, say that 3 times fast. Your shoulder season is going to be May and September as well, even getting into October if the ships are still there. And that is a great time to go because it's not as busy in Europe. The weather is not as hot. So I do encourage you to check out those timings because you have that cost benefit. Another big savings in the Caribbean you could experience is in September and October because the weather has the potential to be awful. These are the most active months during hurricane season. So you can see the prices drops because people are worried about sailing during hurricane season. They don't want their cruise to be filled with rainy and windy days. One time where the price drops that's actually my favorite time to cruise is in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So the idea is many people will travel Thanksgiving or Christmas. They're not going to travel in between. So we have found some tremendous deals the first week and second week in December when it comes to cruise. Now, that assumes you don't have a lot of holiday responsibilities or a lot of holiday festivities to attend to. But I really like cruising during that time because you get the price savings and then you also get all the ships decorated for the holidays. Now, when it comes to weather, now this is going to be a little bit higher price because people in general want to go when the weather's the best. In Alaska, that's generally June, July, and August. Now, Alaska weather can change on a dime. In fact, we did 2 Alaska cruises 1 week apart. So the first week when we went to Glacier Bay, it was 35 degrees Fahrenheit and it was windy and cold and I had every piece of clothing on, hat, glove, waterproof parka. 2 weeks later, we're in Glacier Bay, 70 degrees. My husband was in shorts and a t-shirt. We were both wearing flip-flops. So weather in Alaska can change on a dime. You want to be prepared for rain, wind, cold, especially if you're going as far north as Glacier Bay or up into the inland. But it is ever changing. But in general, June, July, and August, you're going to see a little bit better weather. For the Caribbean, December to April is going to be your best weather. We're clear of hurricane season, sunny, hot days. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when we're talking about December, January, even into February, the Northern Caribbean could still be cold. So when I moved to Miami, Florida, I was shocked in December when the lows would hit 40 degrees and I didn't even have a jacket. So if you're thinking about doing a Bahamas cruise, you really want to do later in the season. You want to look towards that end of February into April because in December, January, and early February, it can still be a little too chilly to be out in the ocean, out in the sun. In Europe, it's really lucky that the best weather tends to coincide with a little bit lower pricing, especially when we're talking about the Mediterranean. So April and May, September and October, those are great times to travel. The weather's nice, crowds aren't as high, just stupendous overall. Now, there are some places you don't really get to decide when the best time to travel is because the season is so limited. So I'm thinking about Antarctica and the Arctic. The season there is so short just because you have that limited time to get up there when it's safe. In the Antarctica, you're gonna do it during their summer, which is December to February. Now you see some ships start to creep down there in November and some may stay to March, but really December, January, and February is when you're gonna wanna head to Antarctica. The Canada, New England sailings tend to really only be for that fall foliage period. So that's gonna be September into October. The ships may head over from Europe, kind of hang out there for a little bit before they head to the Caribbean. Transatlantic cruises tend to take place as ships reposition from the Caribbean to Europe. So ships will sail over in April and May, and then they'll sail back in September and October. But recently, cruise lines have been adding a lot more transatlantic options throughout the year, but they're generally kind of one-offs here and there. Now, the Queen Mary 2 sails the transatlantic route back and forth between New York and England on a regular basis. I've taken it. If you want to check out that video, I'll link to it at the end. So keep an eye out for when those transatlantics may pop up. Now the same is true for the Trans-Pacific. So these are ships that are transitioning from Alaska either to Asia or down to Australia. So same cycle, it's going to be March, April, coming back September, October. So you want to kind of look at those timings to make sure you get the best deal. Now, because those are what they call repositioning cruises, we're moving one cruise from one area to another, they tend to have a discount. So you can get a great rate. So for instance, I was just pricing for a client a transatlantic for next year. They are paying for a 14-night what a 7-night in the Mediterranean would be. So that is a great chance to have really good savings. You just got to keep an eye out for those sailings. And those are my tips to find the best time to cruise. What do you think? When's your favorite time of the year to cruise? Does it depend on your location? Caribbean, Alaska, Europe, Canada, New England, Antarctica? Let me know in the comments. Then here's some videos I and YouTube thought you might like.